everyone, Joshua Hanlon here, and today I find myself at an undisclosed location at the secret Blue Milk Figs LEGO Star Wars collection. Let's take a look inside. Blue Milk Figs is going to be talking us through the whole collection here and how he has kind of sought out all of these incredible Star Wars minifigs and some of these amazing sets that you see on display here today. So we'll start with some of these sets first. You can see there's a lot of focus on the kind of UCS, larger Star Wars sets. So why don't you tell us a little bit about kind of this initial part of the collection here, and then also kind of how you choose to display these with these big display cases.
So obviously the centerpiece, the Millennium Falcon, that's the icon and had to be dead center. Then beyond that, it's kind of just the favorites that we have, you know, the Razor Crest, the gunship, and then just a couple other boxed sets that fit in there that won't get open. You know, we got the Christmas X-Wing in there, and yeah, just favorites and the ones that need protected.
Yeah. So how do you decide kind of what you'll, obviously you don't have every Star Wars set here by any means. How do you decide what kind of sticks around in the collection here as you kind of decide what to display?
We go off of what looks good and keeps from being cluttered. So mostly UCS sets at this point, and then of course the Lego figures, Brickheads, and then our favorite is the TIE Fighter, so we did keep the complete TIE Fighter collection displayed.
Do you ever feel like you have too many of a certain type of a build, or if it fits within that category, you're like, I'm going for it no matter how many Lego releases?
Well, we have downsized a couple times because it was all X-Wings and they didn't make the cut, but now it's just the TIE Fighters. There's a lot of variations. It's kind of an iconic looking ship, so as long as there's room for it, it'll keep on display.
Yeah, absolutely. And then as we go down here towards the bottom, what do you keep in this section?
So the bottom is going to be Snow Speeders, another favorite we have, and we're able to keep that collection for the moment intact. So that's all Snow Speeders, including the two UCS versions. And then beside it in the case is some clocks. So they look like big figs, and those are the more rare or expensive versions. There's a few others I don't have, but those are the ones we like.
Now, I know one of the questions we get a lot of times going through Lego collections like this is about dust. So how do you kind of dust things and kind of keep things clean? And then also, tell us about kind of the display cases here and how you decide whether to use those for a set or not.
So the dust question I get a lot. It's probably the number one question I get. It drives me insane because there isn't dust in this room. There's no windows and no doors. It's HEPA filtered, and display cases, you know, take care of the little bit of dust that's over there. There's occasional time we have to dust a little bit. And the cases are picked to protect the most either rare or iconic sets, and then without overwhelming the entire room. So you know, the Sandcrawler, Brittle Brick Brown, that got put in a case. All the Slave ones until the most recent one got put in a case, and then of course all the minifigures are protected, and that's through Scobo Design.
Nice. Your Death Star over here is a very unique stand. What is this setup over here?
That's the homemade stand. It does spin. It does rotate. That's a TV wall mount inverted on its side with a turntable on a piece of plexiglass. So that thing rotates 360, and there's a way you can see the entire set without putting on a table or a shelf.
Yeah, that's a very unique way to display that there. And then, of course, you've got the Blue Milk Figs, minifigs represented in here.
Climbing out of the trash compactor.
You mentioned the X-Wings, so we've got a few up there. And then one of the things that caught my eye is this series of minifigs down here. So what are those from?
So, used to be a purist. It was only, you know, original Lego, Star Wars, and then, you know, of course, seen a lot of fun stuff. And these are stormtroopers that have their ugly Christmas sweaters on. So that is a complete collection of every color that's been made by a local manufacturer that does the torsos. And I thought they would go well underneath the AT-AT.
So you've got obviously these kind of massive Star Wars sets on display. Do you have hopes for any future Star Wars releases in terms of something that you're hoping that they'll release in the future that you'd like to have on display here? Anything in mind?
Well, the big rumor is the $1,000 Death Star, and if that is come to mind or come to light, there's a plan for how it'll be displayed in this room, and yeah, that'll be to be continued come October. Beyond that, there's a lot of iconic ships could be redone again. There's a big list of wishes, but I'll just take whatever Lego sends our way, and we'll find a way to display it.
Do you like to seek out, I saw like the box with the Comic-Con box over here, so do you like to seek out a lot of those like super rare, sort of harder to find things, or what is your approach with that kind of stuff?
It depends on if it fits the theme that we collect. Obviously, minifigure, yes.
Yeah.
Brickheads, yes. Comic-Con specifically, only if it's a figure or maybe a brickhead that fits on the collection.
So speaking of minifigs, we can check these out over here. So this is, I believe, a complete collection of every Lego Star Wars minifig, correct?
That is correct. So if you look at this, it reads like a book. So your upper left is going to be SW0001A, and it's going to start and work across that shelf all the way down. So that's case number 1. And then you're going to go to your right, case number 2, and then it'll keep working all the way down to the bottom. And then the couple of the cases in the middle are going to be variants or figures that don't have a Bricklink number assigned to them for one reason or another. And then the very bottom right corner is custom figures, mostly from charitable entities or ones that I just think are worthy of being in the collection.
Yeah. Can you point out a few of your favorites, or maybe some that have kind of more of a unique backstory of how you acquired it? Because I'm sure with a collection of this size, I'm sure it's taken you many years to get these, so there's a lot of backstories to this.
Yeah, the collection started, kind of coincidentally with having some old sets brought to our home, and started setting them on a desk and realized that we had a whole lot more to collect. So that was early on, and bought a book and then started going from there for the collection. So the collection started many years ago before the pricing skyrocketed. I would say, there's some favorites we have. Obviously Luke Skywalker with the blue mustache is going to be a favorite of mine. Some of the more iconic ones, the Cloud City Boba Fett, regardless of price, it is just a very cool looking figure.
Where is he in here?
He's going to be in the first case, bottom shelf, dead center. That's Money Row right there. There's your Cloud City figures.
Gotcha. Yes. Very impressive. So what is the total number? Do you know now? Do you keep
if you include the variants, I just ran the numbers just over 1,700 now. That doesn't include custom figures. And then there's some figures that are some of the astromechs that have domes only and holograms, a few things like that. But if you go off of Bricklink, plus there's almost 100 variants, there's just over 1,700 of them now.
What is this one that has the Lego logo on the back?
Yeah, so that's both a Snowtrooper and Stormtrooper, both came that way. Those not keychain, but that was a limited run that was done for, I believe, a convention, and fairly easy to obtain, both those versions. But you will find them in, I think, a keychain version as well, and those are not keychains. No keychains in this collection.
Now, obviously, it's cool to hear about like the super rare ones and things, but just as kind of a Star Wars fan and a minifig collector, what are some of the ones that they've made a lot of different times that you still kind of think look really neat or kind of enjoyable to collect, even if it's one they've maybe made 20 versions of or something? Do you have some favorites that are kind of the classics that they've done a lot?
Snowtrooper is one of my favorites.
Okay.
Iconic. The AT-AT is loaded completely with a bunch of Stormies. So I like watching as they came out with different variations of it. They had the molded backpack at one point. Then you started coming out with ones that had different genders and nationalities. So that was kind of fun to be able to collect all those. So yeah, I think the Stormtrooper, Snowtrooper is probably my favorite to collect.
And then you mentioned you've got Brickheads down here. So is this the complete Star Wars Brickheads so far?
Yeah, that's all the Brickheads, all displayed, minus the one Boba Fett and with the Carbonite, which is in the case that was not built. So these are every Brickhead, and then the top 3 there are actually the promos that you could build for the 25-year anniversary last year. So those are in-store builds that made it into the collection.
What are some of maybe one or two of the craziest stories about tracking something down in terms of maybe reaching out to someone online or that kind of thing? Is there maybe the greatest lengths you've gone to find something? The
greatest lengths is going to be probably more the variants, because there's not a great way to document them. So for diehard collectors, when we know they exist, it may be a wrong colored head or a torso print that's different that Bricklink doesn't recognize. And so that becomes a worldwide venture. And so there's a couple of those in there that I've used my connections with people in other countries that we've sourced and haggled on price. There's a couple of those with the wrong colored head. I'd probably say I'm most proud of those. Some would call them misprints, some call them variants. The variant in art, for the diehard collectors, we would say the variant is going to be something that was done more than a few times. It wasn't just a one-off, but for whatever reason, Bricklink hasn't acknowledged that. So some of these wrong colored heads, there's multiple of them out there. Jack is one of them, worth quite a bit. That head is white, and that's not the color it's supposed to be. And you look through some of those, there's a few different Han Solo ones in there, one with a green head, one with a red head. Those are much more rare, and that took a lot to get.
I can imagine. Have you also found that that's a kind of a great way, though, to kind of just build relationships with other like-minded fans online? I'm sure you find a lot of other Lego collectors, but specifically Star Wars, which does have such a passionate kind of collector fan base.
Yeah, there's a lot of groups that I belong in, and actually it helps because now there's concern with authentic figures and reprints. So we help each other a lot with that. I find myself feeding into that frenzy to help people prevent from buying something that could be a fake. Yoda's a big one. New York Yoda gets reprinted a lot. And then just helping people if there's a variant that maybe isn't listed on Bricklink, they can know how to track it down. So yeah, it's a fun way to kind of collaborate with people worldwide and keep the connections that I have. So if there is a variant or something that I haven't been able to track down, then I have the means to do that.
So it looks like you've still got a decent amount of space right now. You've added, what's the newest minifigs you've added in here?
Bottom left, Bricklink has not added Maul yet, so that is the newest from the new mech. That may in the beginning considered a variant because the printing is actually more pronounced, but it's not necessarily different. So, but those are the most current from June 1st. And then there's room for more, of course, and I do have more cases, so the Brickheads will probably get rehomed, or at least on a different location once we get to that point. So there's room to grow. Once we outgrow this room, then we need another house.
There you go. It's just more houses. And what's the story behind the cases for the minifigs and how these came together for this display?
So being a U.S. Collector, there wasn't the time. I used a European company for the collection, and there wasn't a lot of good support. So I met up with the owner of Scopo Design when he was launching his brand, and we talked, and he's an engineer by trade, and that's what I was looking for, somebody who really understands the science behind a case, not just an acrylic case. His are all highest UV protection. Then another big question we get asked a lot is about cracked figs. If you notice, all my figs are on studs. I don't have any cracked figs. You protect the figures, you keep them secured, you shouldn't have a crack. That's a big debate. People are going to argue that, but from a scientific standpoint and from SCOBO, they would agree that you keep them protected and don't let temperature changes or UV hit your figures, then you're going to be fine. So I needed something that would fit my needs, and these cases now are actually named after Blue Milk Figs. So that case right there, if you go to purchase one, you'll be purchasing a Blue Milk Fig Lego Star Wars minifig case. Yes. Amongst all the cases, every case in here is all from Scobo Design.
So what you mentioned they're on studs. Are these just like plates in there, like minifig stands, or how do you set that up?
Another thing, this company doesn't put pre-done studs in their case. That was another complaint that I had, is the spacing was off on other brands. And so I use my own plates, so I've created kind of the layout for it, and it fits perfectly. And especially for Astromex and other brands, European brands specifically, they don't fit on the studs. So of course, all Lego brand plates, no op-brand there. Don't want to risk any stress on the figure, because there are some valuable and more rare things in there. So all Lego brand plates, and then I can customize that however I need to. If Jabba takes up a lot of space, so in that case I can space them how I want to.
One of the things that is fun to look at when you kind of see this many Star Wars minifigs all at once is the variety in lightsabers and just the colors of them over the years. Do you have like a favorite type or look of lightsaber here that Lego has released?
Yeah, and I'm glad you actually asked that question, because every Lego figure that's in here has the correct hilt and blade. So spent a lot of time during COVID making sure every figure was holding the correct
Nice.
item. There are a few blasters that haven't been updated yet. But as far as a favorite, purple. I mean, so, if you look, that purple blade is so unique that it kind of had to be the one. And of course, the double blade that Maul has. So that's another favorite. So look for.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the colors of the droids down here also stood out to me here. I think that's really unique. It's just so funny to see like that many lined up next to each other.
Yeah, so that's the collection that is stayed, and there's a couple designers there that I'm true to. That are a couple of them are I don't know, UK, I guess, and then one of them in there, which BX Custom actually a person in the States that was doing charity figures for Katie. So there are a lot of charity figures in there, but just the color and the variety of the astromechs ended up being kind of what we decided to keep mostly. And then of course those Boba Fett's down there with all the colors. So yeah, most of the collection is authentic, but that case there happens to be the customs, and there's a lot of charity stuff behind it, and I believe in the builders, what they do on those special figures in that case. So I'll keep those as long as I have room.
So now I wanted to turn my attention to some of the other kind of Star Wars stuff that you have in the room here. So this is not direct like minifigs or sets, but just kind of cool, fun artwork and things. So maybe start with this wall over here and take us through some of what you have.
So the wall with the prints, another company out of England does those. He makes those to look like they're a blueprint for a minifig, and I purchased the ones that are most iconic that we enjoyed, and had some color variation as well. So each one of those is from, I believe, the company called Retro Draftsman, and he does not do these any longer. He does other things, but I don't think he does the Star Wars minifigs any longer.
It's a really fun approach to kind of dissect the minifig like that.
Yes.
It's a neat looking
Yes.
art style.
Absolutely.
And then what about, are these all
the
like posters over
Yeah,
here?
the back wall. Once again, if it's Lego-ish, then that's how it's going to be shown. So we have all the posters that are actually made for each movie. So episode 1, 2, 3, Rogue One, and then 4, 5, 6, 7. And that was when they stopped. They didn't do any more posters after that. And then the couple in the middle are just favorites I had. And then there's a couple of kind of comic books. So yeah, just another way of making it feel kind of more like a room and not just a big cluttered mess.
Absolutely, yeah. I think the presentation of this is definitely one of the things that makes it stand out so much, in addition to the fact that just the unique things you have here. One of those unique things is these pillows. So this I thought was really funny when you pointed this out. So these are kind of like, classic, some of the older Star Wars sets on pillows.
And those are the only ones that this company made, so we had to have, once again, the entire collection, yes.
Where did you track down something like this?
Online, and I couldn't even tell you where.
Okay.
I don't recall, but yeah, it was a website. We just did a Google search and found a company that did these, and they were already filled with the stuffing inside, so it worked out quite well.
No, that's such a fun idea. Over here, it looks like you've got kind of miscellaneous. So what is kind of the variety you have on display in this section?
Yeah, so other than the books, we have the one corner there is the collectibles. So a lot of those are things we know of that you get as a gift with purchase or something like that pack. So a lot of them are the 25th anniversary, or a few other things, a couple passports in there. It's mostly just the small collectibles. The one on the top shelf, these were for the 25th anniversary, and those were only released in Brazil.
Wow.
And I only know of about 5 people that have any, and they all got them through me. So there was a source in Brazil that was basically selling those, and then a few other collectors that I know were able to purchase some. So very proud of those. They have a little display stand there. They just don't stand very well. So but that's how they came. They came in that little bag that's embossed with Star Wars, Lego Star Wars on it, but you can barely see it. So yeah, they're just some of the collectibles. I don't keep all of them, but just some of the more fun-looking ones that I thought would be good display pieces.
Yeah,
And
the
then-
regional stuff like that is so interesting to see what Lego has done
Right.
over the years. It's
Yes.
just so fascinating when you track that stuff down.
Yes. And then you have the Gentle Giant collection. Those are the 5 Gentle Giant kind of big figs, if you want to call them that. But they're almost more like porcelain. And those are the 5. There are 2 variants that are made that are extremely hard to find, and I don't have the 2 variants, but this is the normal 5. That Luke Skywalker one is the most common. You can find him for about $70, $80. Some of the other ones, yeah, they're going to cost you $500 to $1,000 to source those. So once again, if it looks like a Lego figure, then I'm going to try to collect it.
I love that. That's such a great approach. You've also got the classic Star Wars video game mat, which I think is a super fun idea.
Got to have a place to build.
And then this interesting rug out here too.
Same thing. It just another found on Google, and found it around the same time the pillows. It was a pretty easy find. Came multiple sizes. This fit for the room, and makes a good spot for just kind of sitting and hanging out when you wanted to look at all the figures.
Yeah. So this is a really incredible collection. I know you post a lot online yourself, so tell us a little about kind of where you post online if people want to see more of the collection and what types of stuff you kind of post out there as you add to the collection.
Yeah, we'll do updates periodically through the Blue Milk Figs Instagram, so just Blue Milk Fig. There is a YouTube channel now, not used nearly as much, but no TikTok. That's not our jam. So you're going to find us mostly on Instagram or maybe down through YouTube.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, well, we'll make sure to link to that in the description so people can find all your work out there, because this is certainly an ever-growing, increasing collection. Lego isn't going to stop making Star Wars stuff anytime soon.
No,
so
won't.
You'll keep adding to the collection, and people can keep up to date with that and see where you go in the future. So thank you so much.
Thank you.